I'm Rick Harrison, and this is my pawn shop.
Pawn shop owners, I want to bring in Rick Harrison, who you may recognize from the TV series Pawn Stars. He's also the owner of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in Las Vegas.
You know him as the no-nonsense negotiator behind the counter of the world-famous Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. For over a decade, Rick Harrison turned a family pawn business into a global entertainment empire.
The hit History Channel show Pawn Stars, Rick Harrison, his son Corey Harrison, and family friend Austin Chumley Russell examine items brought into their Las Vegas store.
But what happens when the cameras stop rolling and reality hits harder than any lowball offer? What we're about to reveal will shock you, because the man who built an empire on calculated risks just made the biggest gamble of his life and lost. Stay with me, because this story has more twists than a Vegas poker game gone wrong. The Rise. Before we dive into what went wrong, let's go back to where it all began. Do you remember the first time you watched Pawn Stars? That mix of history, negotiation, and family drama that kept millions glued to their screens? Rick Harrison wasn't born into wealth. Growing up in San Diego with epilepsy that caused him to have seizures in his youth.
When I was a kid, 8 years old, I got epilepsy, because it happens to kids all the time.
Rick faced challenges most of us can't imagine. But here's what separated Rick from everyone else. He had an eye for value. By age 13, he was already making deals. And by his early 20s, he'd borrowed money to open his first pawn shop with his father, Richard "Old Man" Harrison. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop opened in 1989 in Las Vegas, just off the Strip. And here's the thing about pawn shops. They're brutally honest businesses.
Pawn shops are businesses where people can exchange their goods with professional pawnbrokers for instant cash. These are secure, safe establishments.
You either know value or you go bankrupt. Rick knew value. He studied history, antiques, collectibles. He turned himself into a walking encyclopedia of Americana. But it was 2009 that changed everything. The History Channel approached Rick with an idea. What if we filmed your daily operations? The show Pawn Stars premiered on July 19, 2009, and became an instant cultural phenomenon. At its peak, Pawn Stars was pulling in 5.7 million viewers per episode. Think about that number. More people were watching Rick negotiate over vintage slot machines.
This old gaming set that I bought about 20 years ago, not sure what it's worth, but I know it belonged to an old gambler by the name of J.D. Borthwick.
Then we're watching most prime-time dramas. The Empire. The money started flowing in like tourists to the Vegas Strip. Rick wasn't just making money from the pawn shop anymore. He was a brand. Personal appearance fees reportedly reached $80,000 per event. The shop itself became a tourist destination, with over 4,000 visitors daily. That's more foot traffic than most major museums. But here's where Rick showed his business genius. He diversified. Merchandise, licensing deals, book deals. His autobiography, License to Pawn, became a bestseller. He opened Pawn Plaza, a shopping complex adjacent to the shop.
Preparations are well underway here at Pawn Plaza beside the famous Gold and Silver Pawn Shop.
Rick's Rules, a spin-off series. Restaurant ventures. Rick Harrison wasn't just a pawnbroker anymore. He was a media mogul. By 2014, estimates put Rick's net worth at around $9 million. But honestly, that number was probably conservative. When you factor in the business valuation, real estate holdings, and continued revenue streams, the Harrison empire was worth significantly more. So what could possibly go wrong for a man with this much success? What happened to make everything come crashing down? The cracks begin. Here's what they didn't show you on TV. Behind every empire, there are cracks. And Rick's cracks were about to become chasms. First, there was family. The old man, Richard Harrison, passed away in June 2018.
The patriarch of the Pawn Stars family has died. Richard Benjamin Harrison, also known as the Old Man.
For those of you who watch the show, you know the Old Man wasn't just Rick's father. He was his business partner, his mentor, his anchor. Can you imagine losing not just your parent, but the co-founder of everything you've built? The emotional toll was devastating, but the business implications were just beginning. Then came Corey. Rick's son, Corey Big Hoss Harrison, had been groomed to take over the family business. But relationships in family businesses are complicated, aren't they? Reports began surfacing of tensions between Rick and Corey over the direction of the business. Corey wanted to modernize, to expand aggressively. Rick, ever the cautious negotiator, wanted to stick with what worked. But here's what really started the downward spiral. Rick's personal life. His third marriage to Deanna Burdett ended in divorce in 2020. Now Nevada is a community property state. Do you know what that means? It means everything acquired during the marriage gets split 50-50. Everything. Court documents revealed that the divorce settlement cost Rick an estimated $4 million, including cash settlements, property, and other assets. But it wasn't just the money. It was the timing.
You know what? You can take half my money, and I can still live like a king. Money is like my third or fourth favorite thing in the world, but it's not everything.
The pandemic. Impact. Then 2020 happened. COVID-19 didn't just shut down the world. It shut down Las Vegas. And what happens to a pawn shop that relies on tourist foot traffic when tourism evaporates overnight? The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, which had been seeing 4,000 visitors daily, saw that number drop to nearly zero during the lockdowns. The show went on hiatus, personal appearances canceled, the restaurant ventures struggling to survive. But here's the hidden crisis that nobody talks about. Pawn shops operate on cash flow. When people pawn items, you're lending money with the item as collateral. When times are tough, more people need loans, which means more inventory, but less liquidity. Rick was sitting on millions in inventory, but needed cash to operate. And remember Pawn Plaza? That shopping complex? With foot traffic gone, tenants couldn't pay rent. Some went out of business entirely. The revenue stream that Rick had counted on dried up almost overnight. Estimates suggest the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop lost over $2 million in revenue during 2020 alone. For a business with high overhead, insurance, security, staff, rent on the plaza, that's not just a loss, that's a crisis. The legal battles. But wait, it gets worse. Because when you're a celebrity businessman, everyone wants a piece of the pie, or in Rick's case, wants to sue you for it. In 2021, a former employee filed a lawsuit claiming wrongful termination and alleging hostile work environment issues at the pawn shop. The details were messy, and while the case was eventually settled out of court, legal fees and settlement costs reportedly exceeded $500,000.